Alright, so here we are again. Virgin Galactic closing about 9-ish% from its opening on Friday after the company delayed their weekend test flight. I haven't seen any news as to when they'll next reschedule, but I'm sure they'll be looking to get things kicking once again pretty soon. It's really actually no surprise that the delay resulted in a sell-off. I mean, if you have a look at the price action over the last couple of weeks, you can see that there was a lot of anticipation for this test flight. And even if we go back a year, Virgin Galactic actually targeted 2020 to be their year that they started commercial flights. After delays due to the pandemic and even more recently the December test flight that didn't go quite to plan, we're yet to see ordinary people on some sort of space tour. They were going to conduct a test flight over the weekend but tweeted out that they wanted to allow more time for technical checks. Now, were these checks literally just to double check that everything was okay, or did they notice something that needed to be fixed? And we don't know. Their message was kind of vague, so it's all left up to speculation. Given that the company still hasn't generated any meaningful revenue, there is a significant amount of investor confidence relying on the outcome of these tests. For me, Virgin Galactic was always a speculative play, and with space, it's rare to see things working as expected first time. So I'm holding for now, based on the future potential of what this company may be able to do. Bitcoin in the news again, and in the last couple of days we've seen the likes of Tesla buying $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. And when that happened, people were thinking, right, who's next? Who's going to be the next big company to come out and majorly adopt Bitcoin or crypto in general? MasterCard came out to say that they'll support transactions of cryptocurrencies. Uber are apparently considering allowing customers to pay for their rides in Bitcoin. Apple Pay has been made so it can now spend Bitcoin. Twitter is considering adopting crypto, with Jack Dorsey saying that decentralized technology will help with content creation, so that instead of Twitter deciding with its algorithms what users see, what if the control was put in the hands of the users themselves? So that's a whole different avenue to explore down there. I think one of the major issues with Bitcoin being used as a medium of exchange right now is that it's still too volatile. I mean, if you want to buy a Tesla with Bitcoin, which I think they mentioned they are looking at, one day the valuation in Bitcoin could be something completely different to what it's worth in a month's time. And that's one of the biggest risks companies accepting Bitcoin and crypto as a payment have to face, which is a risk Jack Dorsey took as, I would say, the first big company to do so. To adopt Bitcoin with Square back in 2018. With PayPal being involved as well, we could see a movement of the needle here when it comes to big fintech companies and just larger companies in general adopting Bitcoin. And that's the buzzword here, right? Adoption. I don't think a lot of them are brave enough to accept it as a form of exchange just yet, but I have a feeling more and more will be looking to invest their cash reserve into these digital assets, just like many of them have done with gold previously. Along with the so-called retail investors becoming more prevalent in the market during lockdown, we've seen prices climb higher and higher. Of course, I'm just covering some of the bullish catalysts here, but as always, there are bearish mindsets to these things as well, mainly in the form of regulation and whatnot, but I'm not going to cover that in this video. Right, so at the moment, my portfolio is sitting at around 17k, split between my ISA and investment account, because these HMRC people won't allow me to buy some of these foreign stocks in my ISA. And this week was a tough one. It seemed that Reddit once again fueled the way for some more targeted stocks, in this case cannabis stocks, of which I really own grwg, but that didn't go up as much as others like Tilray. And then at the end of the week, it took a nosedive. And if you hadn't learned that that sort of thing was going to happen after GameStop and AMC, etc., then I don't know for you. You never want to be buying these blown up stocks at the top. Just take a breather, relax, don't rush into it. You see these stocks going up 40-30% in a day. You have to be a little bit careful when you invest into those. Just a word of advice from me. I know I'm not a financial advisor, as many people like to say, but I just thought if you are listening to that, don't rush into it. From the 8 main stocks I invest into in this ISA as held in this pie, we're doing okay. The only stock I'm in the red for is crisp. I'm not going to lie to you, one of the main reasons why I'm really interested in this stock is because, or company I should say, is because I recently watched Unnatural Selection that came out on Netflix, I think 2 years ago now, and it is absolutely mad. Like, I knew genome editing was a thing, but watching that and how realistic and how far scientists have progressed since then is incredible. And there are so many routes people can go down, whether it's beneficial for curing diseases, to people genetically modifying themselves. It's like the possibilities are endless. And imagine this though, right? Imagine this. Imagine you're able to edit the human genome to give humans gills so that they can stay underwater like fish for a prolonged period of time. Yeah. Let that seep into your mind for a bit. It sounds crazy, I know, but hey, no. Imagine that we're able to modify ourselves so that we can travel across planets without needing spacesuits. I don't know how that's going to happen. I don't know if I'm reaching too far, but you know, let me just stop fantasizing. But that kind of piqued my interest into this whole into this whole genome space. I don't know why it's dropped so much recently, but I have no intention of selling it anytime soon, because I still think that in the whole scientific world, whole genome world, we're still quite early into the development of things. So yeah, it's something I want to hold for a long time, unless their business obviously flops and I have to get rid of it. But cool. Tesla had a bit of a measly week this week. I saw Elon's younger brother selling $26 million worth of shares, which, I don't blame him for doing so. The price has been going up steadily for a couple of weeks now, but I thought that was interesting. I also saw that he went on Joe Rogan's podcast, where he mentioned some further details about the Roadster, which he said he wants to make the car hover. Like, come on, man, how do you not love the guy? The guy is different. He's actually different. He's a madman. By madman, I mean he just thinks differently than everyone else, but I just love it. I'm not one of those guys that will get on my knees and give Elon... I'm not a fanboy of Elon, let me say that. But just the way his craziness breeds new ideas, that's what I appreciate him about the most. Let me stop talking. Cloudflare had their earnings this week, and even though they reported a Q4 loss of 2 cents a share, it was a beat on estimates and an increase from a loss of 6 cents per share from a year ago. Revenues also increased to nearly $126 million from $84 million year over year, as well as the amount of paying customers. As I mentioned a number of times previously, cloud is a big part of an IT infrastructure, and I don't think the importance of it has truly been understood by everyone just yet. So once again, I have no intention of selling this company or my shares anytime soon. So I sold my PayPal shares a couple of weeks ago for Square, for the main reason that Square still has a lot of room to grow. With their Cash App, that is attracting a lot of young investors with their fractional shares and 0% commissions, and maybe stealing some away from Robinhood, given the recent controversy. To their adoption of crypto, like I mentioned before, Square just looks like a very attractive company to buy into. The ecosystem has gone from being a niche service for mobile businesses, such as farmers market vendors, to increasingly servicing larger sellers. There's obviously plenty of opportunity in both ecosystems. The company said it feels it has only reached 2% of a $60 billion opportunity in its Cash App, and just 3% of a $100 billion market in its seller ecosystem. And when the pandemic ends, Square's seller ecosystem should start growing at a greater rate, as more people attend outdoor events and go back to eating in restaurants, two areas where Square has a good foothold in. Okay, so let's talk about my pie now. And I've been seeing a lot of stocks recently gaining a lot of traction, whether they're penny stocks, pharmaceutical companies, genome-related companies, tech companies, whatever they are, okay? And they've been shooting up and leaving everyone behind. Well, not everyone, but me especially. Now, I would like to think that I'm not an emotional investor and that I don't suffer with FOMO, but this has been going on for too long now without my involvement. And to be honest with you, I just can't allow that to happen anymore. Every time one of these stocks shoots up, I'll go do some research on them. Then the next day, a new one has entered the frame, so I have to go look them up and see what they do too. And it's just an endless cycle of trying to do my DD. And by the time that happens, I just miss out. Primarily, I am a long-term investor, so what I have here is just for a little bit of fun, but essentially what it is the best 15 performance stocks on a quarterly basis that I could find and that are ICE eligible because HMRC are ops, and obviously that list is going to change frequently. I'm not quite sure how often I'm going to update this pie. It might be every week, it might be every 2 weeks, we'll see. I definitely won't leave it for a month, but I don't really have any set rules. Like, I don't know if I'll even invest any more into it. Maybe I'll just leave the 1k in there and just reinvest profits, or maybe I'll just say F it and don't have any rules. I don't know, still all up in the air. But I just can't be missing out on these great deals anymore. Like, the FOMO has really got into me, but I'm not going to put too much money in there because at the core, I'm still a long-term investor, and this is, again, just for a little bit of fun. On that note, I'm going to wrap things up there, and I'll be back with another portfolio update soon.